Further thoughts on violence. Is a state of nonviolence actually possible? Is a life of nonviolence actually possible? Or is there something caked into the very nature of existence that involves damaging or injurious force imposed by one being onto another being? Do I do violence to the world simply by being, with every blade of grass that my foot presses upon, with every little bite of salad that I take? Considerations of this kind, moving from political violence to violence in a more general sense, involve us in metaphysical considerations, and because of the upheaval of current conditions, it's also a good time to revisit some of these fundamental orientations to the nature of reality itself. What are the consequences of different outlooks on the nature of reality for your ethical practices vis-a-vis violence? For instance, if you hold ultimately that everything is one, we're all one ultimate unity, then what difference does it make if one part of the cosmic whole does violence to another part of the cosmic whole? Maybe you could make the argument that you're actually doing the whole some good by being one part and causing violence to another part. A radical monism can make room for violence if it's part and parcel of the so-called order of things. For instance, going back to the Roman world again, Stoicism, which was very popular in that context, emphasized the unity of the cosmos. We're all part of one cosmic body. On a personal level, Stoic philosophers tended to advocate a kind of transcendence of violent impulses in their own lives, not to give in to anger or wrath or to seek revenge by dealing somebody violent injury. Nevertheless, that system of cosmic order, that metaphysics, still ultimately condoned the use of violence, particularly on the part of the state, to maintain the order of things in its proper way. For instance, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius's beloved book Meditations, that a lot of people get inspiration from, were literally written while he was at war with German and Sarmatian barbarians at the edges of the empire, writing journal entries about spiritual tranquility and peace while literally killing people. This brings to mind again the paradox of condemning political violence as a modern politician while you condone it and fund it in other contexts. Christian metaphysics, on the other hand, posits that there's more than just one cosmic body, at least in most of its formulations. There is an actual reality to the separateness of creator and creation. There's a reality to the separateness of me and you. There's God and the human, and there's human and another human. And so it's an ethics of recognizing and honoring the other, even considering the other as equal with oneself insofar as the other can be recognized as such. This is indeed my value system. It's ultimately grounded in a faith and in things that are unprovable, but it's also an intuition about my encounter with other beings that I recognize as sentient. To seek to recognize the other and to honor them, to serve the other as co-equal with myself. In the process of being a human being, I do end up doing violence to non-human beings. I am a vegetarian, but I slay and devour vegetables with willingness and delight. I recognize the otherness of these non-human beings, but I don't consider them as localized, concrete centers of experience in such a way that violating them as a discrete other in ending their life as a lettuce plant or whatever is in fact a violation of that value system. But I do hold that that which I can recognize as a person demands my moral responsibility and moral recognition, and therefore I categorically oppose violence, and if we end up getting into some kind of civil conflict, even if there's a right side that's fighting for freedom and justice, and even if a party or a system, quote-unquote, deserves it in the sense of the justice of retribution because they're getting what's coming to them, I oppose that violence as well. If you oppose violence, what is your metaphysics of nonviolence? What are the exceptions to your opposition, or do you think violence does indeed have a place? And this is important because it may indeed be the case that we will face situations in our lifetime where the question of the sacredness and inviolability of the recognizable other, the commitment to nonviolence implicit in our relatively Christianized, even though secular world, becomes a real and not just theoretical thing for us to confront.